Lead. The first responsibility of leadership. Have you ever walked into an organization where everyone looked incredibly busy? Phones were ringing, meetings filling every calendar, emails flying, production was running, managers hustling from one issue to the next. At first glance, it looks impressive. Everyone is working. Everyone is exhausted. Yet despite all that activity, projects stall. Departments compete instead of collaborate. The same problems keep returning. Customers become frustrated, and ultimately, employees lose confidence. And leaders, they wonder why the organization isn't making meaningful progress. Here's what I've learned after more than 30 years leading manufacturing operations, large corporate initiatives, ERP implementations, and executive teams. Activity is not leadership. Keeping people busy is easy. Leading them somewhere meaningful is much harder. Today I want to talk about the first and perhaps most misunderstood responsibility of leadership. Simply, lead. Leadership is more than being in charge. When people hear the word leadership, they often think about authority, being the boss, making decisions, giving direction, holding people accountable. And those things certainly matter, but they aren't leadership in its entirety. They're responsibilities that often accompany leadership. Leadership begins much earlier. It begins the moment someone accepts responsibility for creating the conditions under which other people can succeed. That's a very different definition, because leadership isn't primarily about controlling people. It's about creating clarity. Leadership creates direction. Imagine climbing aboard a ship. The crew is experienced, the engines are powerful, the equipment is state-of-the-art. Everyone knows their individual job, but no one knows where the ship is headed. Would you expect success? Of course not. The first responsibility of leadership is direction. Where are we going? Why does it matter? What are we trying to accomplish? What do we value? What trade-offs are we willing to make? What won't we compromise? Because without those answers, people don't stop working. They simply begin working toward a different destination. That's why great organizations don't begin with strategies. They begin with clarity. Leadership creates alignment. Once direction exists, everything else has to align around it. Processes, measurements, decision-making, communication, even organizational structure, priorities. One of the greatest frustrations employees experience isn't hard work. It's conflicting priorities. One manager says speed matters most, but another insists on quality. Finance pushes cost reduction. Sales promises customization. Operations, they want stability. Everyone is acting responsibility. Yet collectively, the organization becomes less effective. Why? Because activity without alignment creates friction. Leadership removes that friction. Leadership is not about keeping people busy. And that's one of the biggest mistakes organizations make. Some leaders judge success by how busy everyone appears. Calendars are packed, meetings are scheduled, reports are generated, emails are answered. People rushing from task to task because busy feels productive. Sometimes it even looks productive. But busyness and progress are not the same thing. You can spend an entire day moving without moving the organization forward. I've seen organizations celebrate long hours while ignoring poor outcomes. I've watched teams work nights and weekends, solving problems that never should have existed. I've seen talented employees burn themselves out producing activity instead of value. Leadership isn't measured by how occupied people are. It's measured by whether their effort creates meaningful progress. Sometimes the best leader isn't the one who adds another meeting. It's the one who eliminates 5 unnecessary ones. Sometimes leadership isn't assigning more work. It's removing obstacles that prevent important work from happening. Leadership creates the conditions for success. One idea has shaped nearly everything I believe about leadership. Leaders don't produce results directly. People do. Systems do. Processes do. Culture does. Leadership creates the conditions under which those things flourish. Think about a gardener. The gardener doesn't make a plant grow. The gardener prepares the soil, provides the sunlight, water, protection, and healthy conditions. Growth happens because the environment supports it. Organizations work in a very similar way. If people consistently struggle, look beyond the people. Look at the conditions. Were expectations clear? Were priorities aligned? Were they properly trained? Did they have the tools they needed? Were decisions being made at the appropriate level? Leadership begins by improving the environment before blaming the individual. Leadership creates cadence. Organizations need rhythm. Daily communication, weekly priorities, monthly reviews, quarterly planning, annual reflection. Without cadence, everything becomes reactive. Every day feels urgent. Every issue feels like a crisis. The organization spends its time responding instead of leading. But great leaders establish a rhythm that allows people to anticipate rather than react. Predictability then creates confidence. Consistency creates trust. And cadence, well, that creates momentum. Leadership is stewardship. Perhaps the greatest misconception about leadership is believing it's about becoming indispensable. It isn't. Great leaders build organizations that don't depend on them. They develop systems that continue working, people who can make decisions. They establish principles that guide behavior. They create cultures capable of sustaining excellence. That's stewardship. Leadership isn't measured by how many decisions flow through you. It's measured by how many no longer have to. In my view, every leader has 3 primary responsibilities: lead, develop, and achieve. Today we've explored the first. Leading isn't about keeping people busy. It isn't about being the loudest voice in the room. It isn't about having all the answers. Leadership is creating direction, creating alignment, developing the conditions, and establishing the cadence that allows people to accomplish meaningful work. When leaders do that well, people don't just work harder, they work together. And organizations don't simply stay busy, they move forward. One final question. As you look around your organization, are your people busy? Or are they moving together towards something meaningful? Because those are 2 very different things.